Hi, I have a soft spot for unlicensed Famicom games, and I think I have stumbled across one of the most horrifying ones I've ever seen. Rather than get the therapy that I desperately need, I thought instead I would make a video about it. You're welcome. The way I see it, if I get traumatized making these videos, you guys need to be traumatized watching them. Love you. The game we're going to talk about today is called Facemaker. Now, if you look for a game from the 80s or 90s called Facemaker, you're probably going to find this one first. This is a 1982 game that was ported onto a bunch of home computers and the ColecoVision. Like the name suggests, it consists of putting together a bunch of features like the world's worst identikit and making a funny face. This game was made by Spinnaker Software Corp, a company which was at the time specialising in educational computer games. I don't know what you're supposed to be learning from this, but it is a game that's meant for very young kids, so it's not exactly complicated. As well as building the face, you can make the features move too. That is not horrifying. This game does actually look very similar across all the platforms. All of the faces end up with bulletproof hair, all of them are slightly creepy, but not in a horror movie way. More in a, your 4-year-old has drawn a picture of you that also includes a dark shadow above your left ear, and you ask her what it is, and she says it's the man that always follows you around. And you say, do you mean your dad? And she says, no, I mean the man. And she goes off to play with her toys, and you are suddenly aware of a burning behind your left ear kind of way. You know, that kind of way. This game section here is a memory game. The face you created makes movements that you need to remember in order, like a Simon Says, but with your, again, slightly creepy 4-year-old's crayon drawing. Are you gonna put that on the fridge? Are you good at that? Is a good way to die. You will not want to go anywhere near the fridge if you put this up. But this was 1982 and this kind of thing would have still been a novelty. It probably did keep very young children occupied for a little while. And it also kept me occupied for a while. Make your own self-deprecating joke here. Anyway, there's another face-making game released around the same time for the BBC Micro, so let's have a quick look at that one. Again, apparently released in 1982, made by Acorn's educational arm, ASK. This one has an especially terrifying cover art. Is that supposed to make me want to play the game? It looks like a TV screen during the exorcism of an especially pissed off ghost. Honestly, I wouldn't mess with that guy, I'd just move. It's a bit more interactive because it wants children to answer questions in order to build the face, meaning that they need to type things in rather than scroll to just pick what they want. But that does mean it's a lot more limited. The instructions suggest it's really supposed to be an educational aid rather than being a standalone game. You're supposed to be having conversations with the kid while using it, like, does having small eyes mean this guy is mean? Do you know anyone with hair like that? Does mummy's special friend look like that? Hey, look, I tried to draw a picture of myself on it. Not gonna lie, that is not a bad likeness. Let me just add a couple of things. Uncanny. Well, how about this one? Funny Face, made for DOS. Released in 1990, so a good few years after the other two. Made by Zedware and released apparently only in the USA. But again, this one never got ported to a home console. It was released on DOS and only DOS. Probably for the best, really. I mean, look at this. That is cyberpunk levels of customization right there. The world wasn't ready. Those are the only notable face-building games from the 80s and the 90s, and the only reason I mentioned them is that I wanted to be sure there's no confusion between these ones and the thing that made it to the Famicom, because it is very different and kind of more interesting backstory-wise. Side note, did you know that there's a Tetris released that was with faces? What absolute bobbins. Horrifying bobbins. Well, the game I'm going to show you today is often titled Dr. PC Jr Facemaker. You'll mostly find it showing up as a Famicom ROM because it has found its way onto multiple bootleg hacky multicarts over the years. I actually found out about it by trawling through some games on multicarts, you know, having a nice time, having no idea what was about to happen. So let's have a look. Okay, let's... Okay. Just take a minute to really take in this face with this music. Am I looking in the face of a serial killer? I am looking in the face of a serial killer, aren't I? I'm in danger. Okay, no, let's not do that. Let's change his out. Oh, God! What the hell happened there? What's going on there, Sunshine? Are you okay? Oh, look at these lips. Who has lips like any of this? What is that? Oh, God.
What is this game?
Yes, officer. That thing right there. I mean, graphically and customization-wise, it is way better than those other games. But that doesn't mean that I'd rather be playing it. Because no matter what I do, no matter which features I put on a face, it always looks like something from a fever dream. These look like eyes that have got muscles. Like, I know that all eyes have muscles, but muscles where muscles aren't supposed to be. Wow, that's horrifying. Alright, we're going to brush past that nose without making any jokes, because I think they're right themselves. I would not trust this person. There's no... If somebody came up to me looking like that, I would not even give them the time of day, because I'd be worried that they're going to kill me with my own watch, just bludgeoning me. Look at this, it looks like a Junji Ito drawing. Imagine if you woke up in the middle of the night and you just see that face floating about at the bottom of your bed. You would set fire to everything. The reason this game is called Dr. PC Jr Facemaker isn't because it's some kind of training for plastic surgeons. If it was, Kim Kardashian would probably look a bit better. It's because this Facemaker game is taken from a Dr. PC Jr, which is another unlicensed Famicom ripoff. This Famiclone was far more than your standard Famiclone though. It was made by Bung Enterprises, a company which made ROM copiers. They would eventually even make Nintendo 64 copiers and ones for the Game Boy. And yes, they did eventually get taken down by Nintendo, but it took a surprisingly long time. That's the story for another time. The Dr. PC Jr was marketed as a home computer system, which just so happened to be able to play both Famicom games and copy them. It had all sorts of gubbins like a disk drive, it came with DOS installed, plus it could be set up with a printer. It also included a bunch of programs, including a word processor, some Chinese language learning tools, and a small handful of games. Facemaker is from that small handful. So let's take a quick break from making terrifying faces and have a look at the other games that were included on the Dr. PC Jr. First up, it's Minesweeper. Yeah, nice and simple. Actually, this is kind of cute. Look at that terrified little lad down here. I mean, he's wandering into a minefield with a spade. I am not surprised he looks so concerned. Aside from that, well, he's just Minesweeper. You can choose how many mines you want to be dealing with at the start, and then you go off with your shovel. I like the face he pulls when he dies. Aw, honey, did you lose your legs and your torso? I like how even when he's clearly lost all of his limbs, he's kind of cute. I wonder if he's literally just that head now. Again, not really much sympathy for you, mate. I mean, wandering into a minefield with a shovel? You may as well be wandering into the comment section of any YouTube video that slightly disses Nintendo. Architect. This one is kind of a nice idea, but it isn't really implemented well. You're meant to be able to build scenes using this gubbins down here and this gubbins here, and you do that by copying the segments and then pasting them onto your main screen. The demo makes it look really easy. Look at these saved pictures it's showing off. How the heck did you do that? You don't pick up each of the elements and move them in one. You've got to only pick the areas that you want, which means very often you grab part of the wrong thing. Look, I want to move this horse, but I seem to be only able to pick up half of it at a time. I'm dragging half a horse into my scene, then going back for the other half. That is going to be messy. There's going to be bloods and guts everywhere. I've seen this one on a lot of multicarts actually, and no matter how many times I play it, I just can't seem to get the hang of it. The best I can seem to come up with is some sort of post-apocalyptic landscape, or, you know, the posher parts of Hull. I've got to admit though, the fact that you'd be able to directly print off this stuff using the Dr. PC Jr is pretty nifty. I suppose if you put enough hours, or days, or weeks into working out how to play the game properly, you could have some fun here. If you had no friends. And here's Typing Tutor. Oh, it doesn't work. Now, of course, it would have worked absolutely fine on a Dr. PC Jr. But I don't actually have one. In fact, I've never even seen one for sale in the UK, online or otherwise. I do want one, but for now, I'm still very happy with my keyboard Famicom. Oh god, just thinking about it gives me a hard on. So there you go, now we know where this Facemaker game came from. But who made it? Well, the Architect game has this logo on the title screen, Gamesoft, which in this instance appeared to be just the name for another Famicom maker's game developers, but it's all a bit fuzzy and unclear. The whole unlicensed NES game story in China is very intertwined, very interlinked. I don't think I have enough of my life left to properly research and make a fully explanatory video about that. In any case, the Dr. PC Jr does appear to have the first instance of this Facemaker game, so one can assume that it was made specifically for the system. The Dr. PC Jr was made and apparently released in 1996. That's according to the system's BIOS. So it looks like we have a date on this thing too. But I still have no clue who, or maybe what, specifically made it. Oh god! I'm gonna die tonight, and it's gonna be this guy. Alright, I think I've had enough of this, let's leave. Let's just leave. Exit. Exit. Come on, why aren't you working? No matter how many times you press this, you ain't going nowhere. This is your life now. Okay, while the exit button not working on a multicart version of this game is frankly very alarming, because if you ever see something like that, you're going to want to get as far away from it as possible. But the reason it doesn't work for this context is, of course, because it's not for this context. I can only assume that normally you'd press this exit button and you'd be back at the home screen of the Dr. PC Jr. So as a standalone game, yeah, Facemaker is awful. But it was never intended to be a standalone game really, so you can't stay too mad at it. Plus, it's not like Colour a Dinosaur. I can't believe I'm still going on about how bad that game was videos later. But it's not Colour, thank God it's not Colour a Dinosaur. Jesus, can you imagine this face on that game? What have I created? I mean, as far as unlicensed video games go, this Facemaker game really isn't that bad. It does do the job of being a face-making game. And it scars you for life. 2 in 1, I mean, that is good value. And this Facemaker is better than any of the other ones that I mentioned at the start. You know, the proper, actual standalone games. But then again, this was made like 10 years later. To look at how technology has evolved. From mild fear to intense fear. Alright, I'm going to try and draw a picture of myself on this thing. This really does look like an identikit the police would use for tracking serial killers. The only difference is that in this identikit, literally every face possible to make could easily be one of a serial killer. Never gonna sleep again? You're welcome. I am genuinely a little bit too scared to sleep now. This thing is not only gonna be in my nightmares, if I wake up in the middle of the night, it's gonna be watching me from the dark corner of the room. It's gonna haunt me and my children and my children's children until eventually we all go mad and throw ourselves off a bridge, and then we become floating terror faces of our own and start haunting people who've wronged us. And thus the cycle will continue. Is Facemaker cursed? It really is difficult to find any specific information about it. I'm starting to think that it might be the soul of a serial killer, one that swore to continue his work after death by putting himself into game form. Alright, I'm gonna make this disclaimer now. If any of you watching start being followed around by the ghost of a dead serial killer, I am not responsible. Don't try to pin this shit on me, I'm just trying to make a living here. I never guaranteed that my videos would never set off some sort of The Ring style reaction and start killing people all over the country. Am I gonna need to get a lawyer? I'll get a lawyer. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed the video and weren't too scarred. If you like my writing, if you like what I'm doing here, please subscribe, please share. You can check out my website, octaviusking.com as well. At the time of this video, I'm currently studying to do a master's degree at Cambridge University in writing for performance. So every little helps. You guys are absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for taking a chance on me, and I will see you in the next video, if I haven't been murdered. Bye.